Now at 9, Freeman Health System announces plans for a new hospital in Pittsburgh. Plus, how Pitt State's marching band is getting in some practice despite the intense heat. And the Carthage Chamber of Commerce unveils a new playground aimed at improving inclusivity.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Tanya Bach. A new hospital is in the works for Pittsburgh. The announcement came today. KOAM's Amber Jenkins talked with Freeman about its upcoming project.
Freeman Health System is planning to build a fully functional 50-bed hospital in Pittsburgh. Freeman is looking to improve rural health care accessibility and add more than 500 new jobs.
We'll be recruiting new physicians to work full-time in Pittsburgh. We will still have the availability of our specialists in Joplin, but we intend to recruit specifically for Pittsburgh, Kansas.
The $168 million project's location and timeline are still in development.
We have already visited with and had meetings with the architect about the plans, so we already have a head start on that. So that's why I think we can quickly obtain some land, get the architectural drawings finalized, do the soil studies and all those things that are necessary from an engineering perspective, and then we'll be ready to break ground.
A new hospital will greatly help Paul Roberts, who drives his wife from Fort Scott to Joplin for chemo treatment. Saving 30 minutes of driving makes a difference.
You know, an excellent opportunity for Southeast Kansas, rural America, that Freeman, steps in and fills a void. Fort Scott is basically rural where our hospital shut down.
As of now, Pittsburgh only has one hospital, but Roberts thinks the community can benefit from some medical competition.
If something were to happen, let's say here in Pittsburgh, that one of the other hospitals were to decide we're leaving, then you've got a backup. And I think for future, we need to have more than just one. Competition is a beautiful thing.
We know that if we take care of the people, we don't worry so much about the competition. I think the whole entire Southeast Kansas region has come to rely upon Freeman Health System.
Reporting in Pittsburgh, Amber Jenkins, KOAM News.
Currently, Freeman has hospitals in Joplin and Neosho and other healthcare facilities scattered throughout southwest Missouri, southeast Kansas, and Oklahoma. The days of scorching heat continue here in the 4 states. Meteorologist Sam Lane joins us with the first look at weather.
All right, thank you very much, Tanya. Yeah, you're right. It's been scorching again today, has been all week. And we have just a few more days of that, and then we start to see some relief. But this afternoon, it got up to 100 degrees in many locations, especially in southeastern Kansas, upper 90s elsewhere. And into the morning, we're going to see temperatures dropping through the 80s to about 76 degrees by tomorrow morning. And then as we take a look at the satellite view, we're watching lots of moisture off towards the west. This is the remnants of Harold, and it's going to be moving to the north and then kind of curving back into our area as we go into Saturday and Sunday. And that means rain chances are going to increase and also finally some cooler weather. In fact, here's a look at looking down the lane. Heat wave continues, weekend rain chances, but a cooler next week. Unfortunately, though, the drought is going to be worsening, and I'll tell you more about that in just a little while.
All right, thanks, Sam. The Pitt State Marching Band had to come up with a strategy to beat the heat. The band moved its practice indoors in preparation for the first football game of the year next week. KOAM's Fernanda Silva has the story.
Nathan Basso Dua and Lance Smith had a first-time experience this week as members of the Pitt State Marching Band. They practiced indoors in the Placer Center.
In the full 4 years I've been here, this is the first time we've ever practiced in this indoor spot.
The goal? Beat the heat.
It's very hot. Our foremost concern is the safety of our students.
A lot of morale just drops when the heat gets up there, and especially when we're playing, marching, and doing all this other stuff. So being in here is a really big help for just us concentrating and doing everything that we need to do for put marching on the field.
According to them, practicing indoors has other benefits beyond avoiding the hot temperatures.
The band is going to be moving more this year than they ever really have before, and it's just amazing to have this opportunity to actually work on that drill on the field.
This is turf, and the field is turf, and so we get kind of a better feel for how it's actually going to be on game days.
For game challenging days when being outside is pretty much unavoidable, the band has another strategy: to wear lighter clothes.
Full uniforms can get pretty hot because they're a little bit of a thicker texture, whereas we're going to be wearing just our, t-shirts and shorts and a ball hat. That way, it won't be as bad heat-wise.
We'll save the uniforms for whenever it gets just a little cooler out and a little more manageable.
In Pittsburgh, Fernanda Silva, KOAM News.
Nice, shake it out. How y'all feel?
The band members also interacted with the football team and even taught the athletes some PSU songs. The marching band's theme this year is Gorilla at the Oscars. For the first football game of the season, the band will be playing music from the movie Top Gun. Can't wait for that. Well, a big event at Missouri Southern today welcomed students, faculty, and staff to a new school year and helped acquaint them with what the community has to offer. More than 100 businesses and organizations gathered at the Billingsley Student Center for Community Day. They provided some freebies and information on volunteer or part-time job opportunities.
I think it's awesome, there's way more people here than I thought there was going to be, and tons of a large variety of all different kinds of companies and stuff, so it's really cool to be able to check out a very wide spectrum of different things. Some of them interest me, some of them maybe not as much, but I think it's still cool to be able to check it out.
So we just always like to be present for the people that are here, hear what their interests are, and guide them to the positions that most fit their skill set and their interests. I think the number one thing to remember is that there's always something for you, and you can always learn things.
Classes for Missouri Southern's fall semester began on Monday. Carthage residents got to see the Park of the Future today. The Carthage Chamber of Commerce cut the ribbon on the grand opening of the playground at Carter Park. It's designed to be more inclusive for kids with disabilities through things like ramps and specially designed swings. The improvements were made thanks to a grant.
The McCune Brooks Foundation provided a grant that was worth about $5 million to help with improvement of parks like this throughout our community. There's 5 slated and this is 2 of 5.
We just want all kids to be able to come and play at the playground. We want it to be a place that families want to come. And so we've never had the ADA compliance before, and so we're integrating all of that into all of our parks.
Well, this new playground is the second of 5 being built over the summer and fall in Carthage because of that grant. Coming up, health experts are warning parents and coaches about the dangers of practicing sports in this intense. President Biden today announced a new advanced research project in the fight against cancer. It's part of his Cancer Moonshot initiative, which has a goal to cut cancer deaths in half by the year 2047. In a statement, the president said the new project will use mRNA technology to, quote, train our own immune systems to fight cancer, autoimmune disorders, and infectious diseases more effectively. Fewer than half the people worldwide who have suffered a heart attack or stroke are taking a daily aspirin, despite evidence showing it can prevent a second heart attack. Researchers at Washington University and the University of Michigan found that only 16% of people in low-income countries were taking aspirin. In lower middle-income countries, it increased to 24%. In upper-middle countries, it's 51%. In high-income countries, that number was 65%. Well, the temperature continues to soar, and as coaches and athletes prepare for the upcoming season, health experts are sending out a warning. The heat and humidity can be especially hard on young players. In today's Health Minute, Mandy Gaither has more on how to keep student athletes safe.
As the temperature rises, so does the danger, especially for young athletes training outside for the upcoming season.
These are potential life-threatening illnesses that, if aren't treated appropriately, can lead to catastrophic dangers.
Heat cramps, heat exhaustion, and heat stroke can all strike when it's hot out. That's why everyone, from coaches to parents and athletes, needs to be aware of the danger signs, says Dr. Anna Carr-Chabra with Mayo Clinic.
People get disoriented, people get dizzy and have weakness, unusual behavior, headaches, vomiting, and so those are some of the signs you see.
Chhabra says to also avoid scheduling practices and workouts when it's hottest out. Make sure everyone stays well hydrated before, during, and after practice. Use electrolytes to help rehydrate, but avoid caffeine, alcohol, and sugary drinks that can cause dehydration. Wear lightweight, loose-fitting, light-colored clothing. Have shade and cooling stations, and take it slow.
We want to increase intensity and duration of athletic activities over the course of 7 to 10 days. And that's really important for your bodies to get used to the heat.
Chhabra says many times people don't think they need to stretch and warm up when it's hot out, but he says that's how players can get hurt.
So I don't think the weather should change your warm-up routine. So that's something that's completely separate to try to protect our athletes.
For Health Minute, I'm Andy Gaither.
Because of the heat, several Missouri schools are delaying the start times for Friday night football. John Dales will have more details in sports later in the show. Meteorologist Sam Lane is next with a complete look at the forecast. And later, we're just over a week from high school football in Oklahoma. We'll hear from the Miami War Dogs as they get ready for kickoff in sports.
Well, the heat wave just continues across southeastern Kansas and really all the area with highs above 100 in many locations. Right now in Seneca, Missouri at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort, things are looking pretty nice. It was pretty hot down there today as well. In Joplin, we made it up to 97 degrees after a warm start of 80, which of course is way above the normals of 89 and 67. And pretty close to the record, 102 back in 1947. And of course, we're about 9 inches behind on the rainfall so far this year, not counting last year's drought added to that. Right now, we still have an excessive heat warning in effect for southwestern Missouri and southeastern Kansas. That goes until Friday at 10 o'clock. This will be reissued again for northeast Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas for tomorrow. So let's take a look at the extreme heat safety tips. Stay hydrated, of course. Take frequent breaks. Limit your outdoor activities if at all possible. Wear lightweight and light-colored clothing. And be sure to check on Grandma and Grandpa as well as the pets that are outside. Temperatures right now are not that bad. Generally in the mid-80s for the most part. 85 in Iola, 87 for our friends up in Nevada. A little bit cooler over in Neosho where they're currently 83. Same thing in Carthage as well as Monette with southeasterly winds. When you look at the dew points, though, different story. We're looking at still humid conditions with dew points in the mid to upper 70s, even some low 80s. And it's these high dew points that has made it feel so uncomfortable for the last several days. In fact, it's soupy out there on the dew point tracker. When you factor in the temperature and the dew point together, this is what it feels like right now. Currently, it's 104, or at least that's what it feels like in Veneta right now, 96 up in Nevada. And tomorrow, we're going to see more heat-related conditions across our area with temperatures feeling like 110 or above, especially in northeastern Oklahoma. Check out Miami, 116, 117 in Nowata is what it's going to feel like tomorrow afternoon. And then as we go into Friday, same thing. We're going to be seeing temperatures feeling like above 100, 110 plus down in Oklahoma where the dew points are still hanging in. But then notice on Saturday, we start to get a little bit of relief, especially in southeastern Kansas and southwestern Missouri with more temperatures feeling like low 100s. Rain chances are going to be low all the next 36 hours. We're going to be waiting on some moisture coming in from the west and northwest. But first we have to get this ridge of high pressure retreating back to the west. This is the remnants of Harold. And as the remnants come up in north, it's going to go around the edge of this ridge of high pressure and finally introduce some clouds, some precipitation, and cooler air into our region as we go into the weekend. So at least we have some relief on the way. Temperatures tonight, though, no relief. Temperatures in the mid-70s. And then tomorrow afternoon, highs in the upper 90s to right around 100. Maybe an isolated storm or two, but not a whole lot going on. And then as we go into Friday morning, lows in the 70s, and then highs once again in the afternoon, right at or above 100 degrees. And over the next 7 days, we finally see some relief, Tanya, on Saturday and Sunday. And then next week, temperatures actually below normal for a change with lows near 60. Wouldn't that feel nice? Of course, I think everyone's tired of all this intense heat on our bodies and our vehicles.
Oh, I know. We've got 2 more alert days, and my car's pushing it, that's for sure.
Exactly.
Well, like you said, the intense heat can also have an impact on your vehicle. KOAM's Anthony Saviello takes a look.
Cars are the #1 mode of transportation in the U.S. But just like humans, sometimes they can't stand the heat.
If you're going to have issues, you're going to have issues. Older cars are going to have more issues than a new car, but parts fail. New cars are going to have issues as well.
Rayson, a technician at Mike's Auto Shop, did give some tips on how to try to beat the heat.
The restart button will circulate the cool air that's already in the car versus the other button, it just pulls the hot air from outside. Check your coolant levels, make sure that they're where they need to be, and keep an eye on your temperature gauge.
However, your engine isn't the only thing you should worry about. It's also important to understand how the heat affects your car's interior. I put together a little experiment here right outside the KOAM news station. Here we have two of our news vehicles. Both are the same make and model. The only difference is they have a different paint color. Now on the inside they both have the same black interior, and another difference is one has a sun shield, one does not. They both started out at about 100 degrees, and we're going to check in about half an hour just to see what the difference in temperature actually is. It's been about 20 minutes. My thermometer here right now is reading about 97 degrees. We're going to put it inside our unshielded car for about 30 seconds and see what the temperature is. After about a minute of the thermometer being in the vehicle, the temperature reads almost 108 degrees. Still very hot. We'll check the other one out and see if there's any difference. After about a minute of being in our shielded car, our thermometer still reads about 105 degrees, meaning that there's only a 3-degree difference between a shielded and unshielded car, which means you need to take extra precautions, making sure that there are no children or animals left unattended in your car, because in these temperatures, it gets dangerous. Reporting at the KOAM news station, I'm Anthony Saviello, KOAM News.
Well, Mr. Johnson also mentioned that it is important to remember letting your car in idle to cool down can also cause major issues, so don't do that. Well, coming up, a big expense getting more expensive.
Some Americans are already struggling to afford the bare necessities, and now it's getting harder to afford a car. I'm Lydia Hu with the Fox Business Network. Coming up, I'll tell you what's behind the growing cost of a car.
The economy is a hot topic among voters, with inflation still weighing heavily on some Americans struggling to pay for necessities. And now it's getting harder to afford a car. Fox Business correspondent Lydia Hu breaks it all down.
It's getting harder to afford a car. Rising interest rates are adding thousands of dollars to the cost. The average interest rate on a loan for a new car hit 7.2 last month, according to Edmunds. Here's an example. The average transaction price on a new car is more than $48,000, according to Kelley Blue Book. The average down payment last month, nearly $6,800. That leaves about $41,500 to be financed at the average rate of 7.2%. After 72 months, the total interest paid will be $9,740. Total cost for that car now, $58,074. Buying that car with the same price and down payment back in February of 2022, just before the Federal Reserve started hiking interest rates, would save nearly $4,000 in interest alone, because then the average interest rate was lower at 4.4%. Also rising, delinquencies. The New York Fed shows 7.3% of auto loans are now 30 days or more late. Nearly 2.5% of auto loans are 90 days or more late, both categories up from last year. A concerning trend since unemployment remains low, prompting some to ask whether it's working people who are not able to afford their cars.
Unfortunately, the only two ways these are going down is if we see the Fed reduce rates. Definitely not an option. And on top of that, cars have to sit long enough for automakers to start really piling on incentives. And again, there's so much demand.
And it doesn't seem cars are getting more affordable from here. According to Cox Automotive, only one car sold for an average price of under $20,000 last month. That's the Mitsubishi Mirage. Just 5 years ago, more than a dozen different cars sold for under 20 grand. Reporting from New York, Lydia Hu, Fox Business.
Well, the federal government is doling out millions of dollars to tackle near collisions at American airports. 8 airports will receive $121 million to pay for construction projects. This is on top of the $100 million that was granted to dozens of other airports 3 months ago. An FAA official says sometimes the best way to address safety risk is reconfiguring existing airfields. Up next, we'll learn about the newest member of the Oklahoma City Zoo and how it could help its endangered species. Rare species. The Oklahoma City Zoo says this clouded leopard kitten was born July 18th after a 90-day gestation period. It says he's so special that he's getting extra care from zookeepers, and they report he is doing well. The facility partners with other zoos to carry out a survival plan for this vulnerable species. When this cutie grows stronger, he's due to become an ambassador for his species at another facility in the association. Super cute. Well, 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. A Bourbon County, Kansas organization hands out nearly $50,000 in grants to local entrepreneurs. Plus, why authorities in Oklahoma are searching the former home of the BTK serial killer in Park City, Kansas. Bourbon County Action Team awards nearly $50,000 in grants to local entrepreneurs. The team gave $7,000 to 2 restaurants and handed out grants to 7 women-owned, minority-owned, or low-income startup businesses worth $5,000 each. Officials say those entrepreneurs worked with the team to develop plans to grow their businesses.
We encourage that they support these businesses. They are startups, so we hope that they go into their businesses and they purchase their items and learn more about these startup businesses.
The team says it's awarded a total of $195,000 in grants to similar businesses over the past 2 years. Newly released video shows what happened when inmates at the St. Louis Justice Center assaulted a corrections officer and held him hostage. And now attention is turning to security issues at the Missouri jail that allowed it to happen. Brent Solomon has the story.
Take a look at this video inside the St. Louis Justice Center Tuesday, moments after 2 inmates held a 73-year-old corrections officer hostage, all over the food they were being served.
It's very scary.
The victim's daughter, who asked not to be identified, spoke with her father when he was recovering in the hospital.
He got a busted lip, and I think he got a concussion.
Officials say 2 inmates attacked the corrections officer and held him against his will.
For up to 2 hours, his life was in danger. He wasn't protected by the city that he serves. There is severe understaffing. They are not able to adequately handle the amount of detainees that they have accepted at that facility.
Today, the Commissioner of Corrections for the jail would not address how many officers were working, citing security reasons. When asked if there's a need for community oversight,
I think this is merely an operation issue and has nothing to do with oversight. They were operating the way they should have been.
Even with all of the procedures that are supposed to protect him, the procedures that the warden today said worked just as they should, his life was put in danger.
Even the 73-year-old's daughter is left with questions.
Obviously, he was by himself. Was there another protocol, other guard around him? I don't know. My dad is not mean. He's very nice. My dad would never, he does his job.
The correction task force was created after inmates rioted at the same jail in 2021. Officials say the inmates involved in the most recent incident will be charged. Oklahoma authorities today searched the former home of the BTK serial killer in Park City, Kansas. An Osage County undersheriff said they were following leads on missing people that may be related to the killer by digging up areas at the home. Dennis Rader terrorized the people of Wichita from 1974 to 1991. He gave himself the nickname BTK, which stands for Bind, Torture, and Kill. He was convicted in 2015 for the murders of 10 people. A bit later, how a new kind of shepherd is roaming the Swiss Alps to protect sheep from a growing wolf population.
Well, the heat continues, but so does the humidity. In fact, that's what's been making it feel so uncomfortable out there with those high dew points. Let's take a look outside this morning at Indigo Sky Casino and Resort. And as we go through the day, you can see that mostly fair skies continued all afternoon long, with some cirrus clouds moving in by this afternoon and even a few cumulus out there. And that helped keep temperatures down just a tad in northwest Arkansas and southwest Missouri this afternoon and this evening. 97 was what we made it up to in Joplin. But look at that. We started out at 80 degrees this morning. That's pretty close to the average high for this time of year. And of course, we're behind on the rainfall and will continue to do so over the next several days. All right, let's take a look at the excessive heat warning. That's in effect for southwest Missouri. Southeastern Kansas will be reissued again for northeast Oklahoma and northwest Arkansas for tomorrow. So let's take a look at some of the heat safety rules. Stay hydrated. Take frequent breaks. Limit your outdoor activities. Make sure that you're wearing lightweight and light-colored clothing. And be sure to check on the elderly and the pets, as they are more susceptible to all this heat. Right now, though, we're seeing temperatures in the mid to upper 80s. 87 in Chanute, same thing in Parsons. 86 in Miami. And for our friends over there in Monette, they're down to 81 degrees right now for one of the coolest readings. But when you look at the dew points, look at this. Mid to upper 70s, even some low 80s still showing up in northeastern Oklahoma. And those combined with the temperature is what's making it feel so bad out there. Right now it's above soupy out there on our dew points. And right now when you factor in those two things, this is what it feels like. Still feels like 101 in Veneta and in Grove. Anderson not far behind at 100. But at least it feels a little bit cooler over in Mount Vernon where it feels like it's 87. But tomorrow, it's going to come all back with temperatures feeling like 110 plus, even 115 plus in like Miami, as well as Veneta with 116. And then on Friday, we're expecting more of the same. Temperatures feeling like above 110, 115, especially in northeastern Oklahoma. And then on Saturday, we get a little bit of a break, especially in southeastern Kansas. But notice down in Oklahoma, it's still feeling like 110 plus in many locations. Unfortunately, rain chances are going to remain low for the next 36 hours. And even with this next rain chance coming in on the weekend, it doesn't look like everyone's going to get a lot of rain with this next system, because it's the remnants of Harold that is taking the scenic route around this big ridge of high pressure across our region. That's eventually going to retreat to the west, and that's going to allow this moisture to start moving in from the north and west, bringing us some cloud cover, a little bit of chance of precipitation, and also cooler temperatures with this northwesterly flow. But tonight, lows in the mid 70s. And then tomorrow afternoon, temperatures once again at or above 100 degrees, maybe an isolated storm or two, but I wouldn't bet the farm on that. All right, next 7 days, we have the chance of showers and storms coming in on Sunday especially, and that can continue into Monday morning. But look at next week. Temperatures normal for once around here, even below normal, especially on Wednesday morning with a low of 60. That'll feel real good.
Can we bet the farm on normal temperatures in the near future?
Yes, we can. We can bet the farm on that.
I'll take that if it hasn't burned up by then.
Exactly.
Right?
That's
All right. Thanks, Sam. We'll take a look at this rare fire tornado in British Columbia, Canada. The weather phenomenon formed last Thursday over Gun Lake in Lillooet. Overnight, ground personnel responded to the downtown lake wildfire and caught it on video. And these fire whirls are caused by rapidly changing weather. They start with rotating air, often visible by smoke, to form a vertical spinning column of fire. Wow. Well, Moody's is trying to put a dollar value on how much the Maui wildfires will cost. It's estimating between $4 and $6 billion in economic losses. About 75% will be covered by insurance. Now, Moody's estimate includes property damage and business interruption. It says most of the losses are likely concentrated in the town of Lahaina. And that's where the blaze burned more than 2,100 acres and destroyed almost 2,200 structures. Coming up in sports, a look at Neosho football's indoor practice this evening. Plus, the weather forces several local high schools to make changes to their football schedule this Friday. John Dales has those stories and more up next.
This right here at 7 a.m.
This Friday is week 1 for high school football in Missouri. Now that means it's the first week games can be played. Same deal next week in Kansas. Seems simple enough, but things are a little bit different in Oklahoma, where teams can play week 0 games as soon as this Friday. Now Miami is one of those schools. War Dogs hoping to continually build momentum off last season's 6-5 showing. It was the first time they had gotten into the playoffs in 14 years, but they've already had to make some adjustments on the fly because that week 0 game just got moved to later in the season.
So today's a Wednesday for us, and going into Tuesday's practice, Tuesday morning we're preparing for a week 0 versus Dewey. And by Tuesday afternoon, now we pushed that game due to the weather, just an agreement between the two schools, and now we're ready for week 1 versus Grove. So I have a little bit more time to prepare for Grove, but at the same time, is a whole different scheme that we're preparing for.
We got a lot of guys returning, especially that's the biggest thing. We're all older now. We got guys like Hayden Miller, Wayne Wells, draw a lot of double teams for us on the D-line, make a lot of plays for us, and then we got guys in the back like David Homer. No one gets past him. He's like a wall. It's nice to have guys back there that you can always trust during a game.
And one of the schools that has the luxury of a full indoor practice facility that it can utilize in times like these is Neosho. And we stopped by their practice this evening. Again, the Wildcats getting a break from the heat at that indoor facility. Neosho coming off a 4-6 season last year in 2022. The team had no trouble scoring points though. They averaged more than 40 points per game. This year, the goal remains the same as Neosho begins its season on the road against Willard.
Ever since I got here, we've just focused on getting better every single day. And so we're just focused on the things we can control. And so we're trying to live at a standard of expectations that we want to live at every single day, and our kids have done a good job of meeting that.
This last week we've pulled it together as a team a lot. We have been flowing together as a team, and we just fixed a lot of things, and we feel a lot smoother and cleaner as a defense.
The past 2 days, it's been a grind. We've been working really hard, and I feel like it's going to work towards Friday night. We have a really good group of kids over there, and I feel like we're going to do an amazing job on Friday.
And back to the intersection of football and the heat here in the 4 states. Here's some more information on how the temperatures are impacting this Friday's high school football action. Basically, all you need to know is every game being played in the area delayed to an 8 p.m. start time. All the ones you see on your screen right now, along with Joplin at Branson, Carthage at Republic, and Webb City's game with Nixa, to name a few. They're all starting at 8 p.m. No. Those are the Missouri schools from week 1. You've already heard about how week 0 in Oklahoma has been impacted. Miami's game gets pushed back to week 3 where they were scheduled to be off. Kansas schools had jamborees scheduled this Friday. They're all also getting pushed back to 8 p.m. like the ones in Parsons and Frontenac. Humboldt comes out today also and says it's not participating in the jamboree at Parsons even after the time change. So pretty interesting to kind of see the intersection of the weather everybody's dealing with and how it's impacting local sports.
Curious though how Miami was able to postpone theirs to a Friday in September. Did they just not happen to have a game scheduled that night?
Yeah, the way that it works, because they were playing initially in week 0 before their season, they had one more bye week. So now they just kind of have one less bye week because of that.
Kind of like a snow day, but the extreme opposite.
Yes.
All right. We'll be back with more news after this.
Special Forces World's Toughest Test. New season premieres Monday, September 25th on Fox.
Making a comeback in Europe, but not everyone is happy. So a new kind of shepherd is roaming the mountains to make sure everyone gets along. Ian Lee reports.
A battle of life or death is playing out in the Swiss Alps. Shepherd Mathis von Sippenthal and his trusty dog keep an eye on their grazing sheep. That's because wolves roam these mountains.
Mostly it's like the wolf is coming for 2-3 days and then he's gone.
Vigilance is key here, not only to save Mathis's 480 sheep, but the wolves too. The predators are making a comeback in many European countries after being wiped out over a century ago. Volunteers help keep watch, camping out with night vision goggles and a sturdy heart, ready to cry wolf at a moment's notice. You can't be scared. One person tracks the wolves while the other approaches them with a powerful flashlight and whistle to chase them away, says this cardiologist. Last year, wolves killed nearly 1,500 animals in Switzerland. So hundreds of volunteers try to keep the peace. We deterred wolves from flocks 32 times, and these are situations where attacks could have happened, he says. For Mathis, the extra help gives him peace of mind that his sheep and livelihood are safe.
For me, it's such a big help because, I'm nearly the whole day outside with them and herding them, and then I bring them back. Then it's nice to go down and have a rest.
Coming together to make sure man, sheep, and wolf can live in harmony in these majestic mountains.
Well, since the first pack was spotted in Switzerland in 2012, the number has swelled to some 250 individual wolves. Coming up, we'll check out a new baseball field in Michigan, giving people with disabilities a chance to play America's favorite pastime. A new sports complex in Michigan is giving athletes with disabilities a chance to step up to the plate. Anthony Parrish has more on the new field's impact.
I think you have to see it in order to really explain it.
Kids and adults once on the sideline are getting a chance to play baseball at Central Park in Midland at the new and improved Miracle Field.
They've been a spectator at their sports their whole lives, and now these kids and these adults have the opportunity to play, and it's empowering for them.
Each athlete with a different story of obstacles keeping them from taking the field.
I have adults who are 71 that are playing baseball because in their whole life they've never had that chance.
All ages and abilities welcome.
It's a baseball league for both youth and adults who have a disability. So we play on a field that is completely accessible. So no matter your ability, you can maneuver the field, you can play the sport with adaptations. We have a box that will literally shoot a ball across the field for you if you need help doing that. We have different kinds of gloves, bats, balls, you name it.
Growing to provide even more sports like soccer and kickball, the City of Midland is hoping to expand the program to break down even more barriers.
It's making us more inclusive every day.
That's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We leave you with video of pandas in China celebrating their birthdays. Have a great night and an even better tomorrow.